says we're live. Let's see where we are. I think we're live. Welcome to the Itch Network podcast. The date is 8/1/2019. It's the first day of August. A lot to talk about today. Just me today. JD is on his way to Las Vegas to compete in EVO. It's a gaming, fighting game tournament out in Las Vegas. He's going to play... Oh, what's the name of the game? He actually switched games a fair way while he was practicing. It's a newer game. Oh, he's going to kill me that I can't remember it. Oh... It's a newer one. I can't remember. I'm so sorry, JD. It's kind of like a generic name, if I remember correctly. Let me figure out what that is. It's gonna kill me. Games at EVO. It is... God, it's not even on that first list. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get it. It says Samurai Showdown. That's the one. Yeah, it just sounded kind of like almost like if it was on the SNK or something, it would be a like really generic game. But apparently, he says it's pretty good, and he thinks he's good enough to compete, I guess. So good luck to JD. Hopefully, he takes home the gold or whatever other nerdy prizes they have over there, and becomes EVO World Champion. So good luck to him. I've had a bit of a crazy week myself. Last week I was in Catalina Island and was able to explore that beach area. It's a little island off of California. It was pretty cool. I got to see my family, got to hang out with them, and it sort of has a beach vibe, but it's really not much of a beach. I think it's literally like 50 meters long or something as the beach, and the other part of it is just a bunch of rocks and the ocean. So if you're going for the beach, just stay for a day or maybe two. The scenery is really beautiful though. Food was all right, pretty touristy though, so it's nothing great, and you pay a lot of money for it. And they really ring you out with the water. Apparently they just charge anywhere from $5 for water to, the cheapest I think we got was like 50 cents. Maybe some places did it for free, I can't remember. But definitely a big time tourist trap. Whatever is what it is, I guess. I'm not much of a traveler, so I can't really say anything. But it was good to see the family, like I said, and everything. And finally, I will say that when we came back from Catalina Island, we took a quick day tour over to Universal Studios. And that was, I would say it was the biggest mistake, but at least I did it. And so that's cool. I think we had an experience, and that's something to cherish. Unfortunately, Universal Studios is the worst theme park I think I've ever been to in my life. I almost hesitate to call it a theme park. Usually when I think of theme parks, I think of rides and major attractions and being wowed by things and like what's new, what's exciting. And they're flashy and they have events and do all these things. Universal Studios didn't seem to have any of that. In fact, most of the things at Universal Studios felt like it was at least a decade old. They had Jurassic World, but I know that they had the Jurassic Ride Park, and I've never been, so I'm not sure how much it's changed. I mean, obviously they added the new stuff to it where there's the new characters, which I've never even seen the new Jurassic World, so I can't. I'm not too familiar with it, but I understand that it's dinosaurs, and then like apparently mutated dinosaurs to make them more dinosaur-y and more extreme, which sounds like a child wrote it, but that's neither here nor there. So there was the T-Rexes and stuff in it, and that was clearly the main attraction. It wasn't actually the longest line, but it was clearly the main attraction, and that was one of the few actual quote-unquote rides that was there. I found out that most of the rides at Universal Studios are really just you sitting in almost a theater that slightly moves or vibrates or jerks around a little bit. And I felt gravely ripped off. That was very weird. It was like, I think I've been to Disneyland a couple times, and I know they have that Star Wars ride where you sit in like the cockpit of a ship and you're flying around in that. It was kind of like that, but that Star Wars one was way better, and it felt like they tilted the room more, because these were just almost like rumbles, like just rumbles when things got crazy. It I gotta say, they did it over and over. It was a Minions one. I mean, the animation was cool, but you could see animation anywhere. Like, you could just go home and watch the movies and you'd be fine. The animation was neat, but as far as a ride goes, it was pretty lackluster. And that was the first ride first attraction we went to was The Walking Dead. She's into The Walking Dead. But I think even my girlfriend was pretty disappointed. All it was you just walked through kind of like a haunted house, and they didn't really have any mainstay Walking Dead characters or anything from it. And there might have been a couple nods. She would know better than me, but it was mostly just like people dressed as zombies pretending to grab at you. And I mean, while that's not horrible, it's certainly not a ride, and it's certainly not a major reason to go. And I think we were both pretty excited about it, and you just walk out, literally just almost get like pooped back into the park. It's just kind of like, okay, that happened, I guess. And then, yeah, we went to the Minions one, just like sitting in a theater almost, and just getting tilted around a little bit. And then we walked around over to the Simpsons one, and that was the exact same thing. A little bit crazier, but not by much. We went to the craziest one was we went to the Harry Potter world. And turns out we waited half an hour in a line. All the lines were pretty crazy, basically comparable to a Disneyland ride. This one was 30 minutes. We assumed, this was, I guess, our fault, but we assumed that a 30-minute wait meant it was a pretty decent ride, or a pretty decent attraction, or pretty decent anything. But it turned out to be a 5-minute commercial to buy a wand. It literally was you walking into a room where a guy was selling a wand and acting his heart out. He was trying so hard, and I felt so bad because it was so embarrassingly horrible. He was talking to some kid, you know, they got to come up and hopefully get a free wand out of it. But I just thought, like, this guy is acting. He's running away from home. He's gonna make it big in California, hopefully to Hollywood. I think we're pretty close to Hollywood. And this is what he's doing now. It was so depressing, and I just felt so sad for him, and disappointed for us because we waited for so long to just have a 5-minute commercial for the wand. We just get shot right into the wand gift shop, or it wasn't really a Harry Potter gift shop. It was clearly just wands, but how embarrassing. How horrible was that? Oh, it was terrible. So then we went to the Jurassic Park one. You have to go down in a huge escalator. And that one was okay. It just had really one major drop, and everything else was just like a little boat tour. At least it was something, though, that got you moving and going around. By this time, we went back to the Harry Potter area. Everything there was horrible. Everything there was just really bad. It's really, I was telling my girlfriend this, it's really embarrassing when Disneyland rides make your rides look tame and very childish. Because Disney, that's supposed to be the childish place. I would think if you're going to compete with Disneyland, you got to up the ride craziness, because that's where you can get them. That's what Six Flags did, and I don't really understand what the draw of Universal is. Everything I've been listing is so old. Like, there's nothing new. There's nothing legendary. I mean, the Minions, I guess, is sort of cool, but not anything compared to, like, a Disney product. And then there was, like, a Kung Fu Panda area. It's like, who gives a shit about Kung Fu Panda? There's everything there was just so so lame. And by that time, by the time we left the Harry Potter thing, I was pretty tired. I mean, I had just driven and I was on a boat, and then driving for hours, just trying to get out of that area, and I was pretty tired and mixed with being pretty disappointed. So we went on 2 more rides. There was a mummy ride that was probably the best ride there, and I was just so out of it that it didn't even faze me almost. I'm giving it a hard time, but I was just so bummed about everything else that it was like, oh, okay, cool. It was almost like the Indiana Jones ride. Something's better, something's worse. And then we went on this Transformers ride that was just abysmal, and I just felt sick afterwards. Partly, I'm sure, because I was so tired and cranky, but the other part, it was just so jarring, but it was still another one of those video things. It was like, I don't know why. I guess they do it because it's probably a lot cheaper, but it feels cheaper and it feels bad. And then we pretty much left after that. I will say that they've got a really, really cool nightlife area with lots of cool restaurants and just like a nice scene going on. So that was really fun. But the actual park, I do not recommend. I'd say stay as far away from there as you possibly can. It's horrible. All right. That aside, let's talk about games I've been playing. So I've been playing a little bit of Dragon Quest. I'm hoping to finish that by the end of this week, which is Thursday now, so I'm getting a little worried. I've been playing it for a long time. I played it a shit ton in Catalina Island when I should have been hanging out with my family. But I love that game. It's Dragon Quest 6. It's definitely not the best Dragon Quest, but it really scratches that itch and fills that void of strong RPGs that we don't see too much of. Well, we're getting them more than we did the last couple years, but still, more and more would be nice. And then right before I left, I started playing another Dragon Quest game, Dragon Quest Builders 2, and I'm really, really enjoying what they're doing with that. They really prioritized, at least from what I've played so far, various missions more so than the first one, which did do that, but not in the same way. And I'm liking this one a lot more. It's drawing me in more than the other one did. But I mean, I guess if you played that one, you kind of know what to expect. But the game I really want to talk about is Fire Emblem, The Three Houses. I used to play Fire Emblem in high school. That's when I played the first one on the Game Boy Advance. And I think that's, when I say the first one, I mean the first one to come out in America. Of course, everyone knew about it because of Super Smash Bros. Melee. And it's like, who are those guys? Well, yada, yada, cool. Smart idea to do that, by the way. Well, back then, it was pretty strictly just a strategy RPG. In the vein, I guess, of Shining Force, which I'd never played. Eric's a huge fan. But that's pretty much it. I think there was an element like where people, if they fought next to each other, you could get some slight boosts in, like, you know, maybe strength or something. I barely remember it. I remember there being ranks of relationships, but that was kind of it. And I liked how subtle that was, because you kind of telling your own story when you do that. Is like, oh, I like it when these two characters fight next to each other. They like each other, so I can put them there, however it might work. And then I played, I kind of skipped out on the Fire Emblem series because I didn't have a Wii, so I didn't play whatever that one is. I didn't really have a GameCube until way late. Never got that one. And the first one I played after a long while was Awakening. And that one had that element of relationship. I know they could get married and eventually have kids, which I didn't really get into, and I didn't beat that game. It kind of dragged and lost my interest, which tends to happen with Fire Emblem games. But there was I kind of let Eric take the reins on the Fire Emblem after, I let him do it because he would seem to be more into it than me. So I didn't really see much of that. And now I'm playing the newest one, the three houses. That's where that leads me. And I got that as soon as I got home from my trip. And I pop it in and I played it for a good 5 hours. And I'm just sitting there like, this series has completely changed. Like, all I'm doing is walking around to school, talking to... It seems pretty clear that they're underage girls. And they're giving off some pretty intense sexual vibes. And it's kind of creepy, like, and granted, I'm not like an anime watcher, so I don't know if this is supposed to be normal. I kind of feel like it almost is, but these girls seem, some of them more so than others, like some of them seem pretty mature and probably don't look like they're that young, but some of them look legitimately underage, but they're all definitely supposed to be underage. I think they're supposed to be like 15, maybe 14 or something. So when you see that they're hitting on you and they're saying things like you're so handsome and you're so good looking and stuff, it's like, is nobody else... I tried to Google it to see if somebody was going to say anything about it or somebody has notated it, and I see a couple things, but they're not about this game, they're about the last one, or maybe even about Awakening. And maybe more people are. I'd search for like 3 minutes, but like there seems to be a really dark tone here that I don't understand how it got through and how people aren't really more concerned about it. Like, there were parts where I'm sitting there, and this is a game. It's rated. What's this game rated? Let's take a look. ESRB 5. Yeah, 3 houses. It's rated. It's rated teen for blood, suggestive themes, and violence. Well, I guess it is rated teen. But still, like, this is a Nintendo game. They're generally a little bit more safe about that stuff. But there's very, very clear sexual undertones with these minors. And just kind of makes me uneasy when I'm playing it. My girlfriend's sitting there watching it. Like, I'm all excited about this strategy RPG, and then we're just walking around to school having a bunch of schoolgirls hit on me, and it's like, trying to explain that to her. This series has completely changed, and I understand that as time goes on, games aren't going to be what they used to be, and they're going to make quote-unquote progress, and there will be things added to it. It won't be the same. I'm not just a curmudgeon shaking his fists at the sky. Like, for instance, Dragon Quest XI, I absolutely adored it. I love what they added. I love the hex upgrade system, hexagonal. I love the voice acting. I love all that stuff. I love the way that series has progressed. Final Fantasy maybe less so, but I certainly like the PlayStation era stuff, which was a huge departure from the original. But so what I'm saying is, it's okay to be to change, and I understand that. But to change, to be like, we used to be a strategy RPG, and now we're part strategy RPG, part dating sim, almost. I don't know. I'm not far enough, I guess, to see that, but I can kind of see what the pieces of it are, and that seems to be where it's headed. Is almost a dating sim kind of game, which kind of blows my mind. And then part, I don't even want to know what the rest, like part like weird school management. I see how it's affecting the stats, and I kind of like some of it, but man, the whole point of it is supposed to be combat. At least that's why I'm playing it, is to play the cool, because I like the strategy combat. I actually prefer it to Final Fantasy Tactics. I like the style that Fire Emblem has. So to see that is a little bit disheartening, and I really, really hope that something like that changes. Because it's such a shame that I have to be kind of wary of what I'm playing. I shouldn't have to do that. It's just silly. I mean, as a game though, it's not horrible. It's got everything I like from Fire Emblem from the combat's perspective. Yeah. Some of the statistical stuff changed a little bit, which is fine. It's different from what I'm used to, but once you figure it out, it's not any worse or better. It's just different. So a couple of little gaming news we got going on. Ninja is leaving Twitch for Mixer. One streaming service for another. Twitch is owned by Amazon. Mixer obviously is owned by Microsoft. I'm sure they gave him a couple ducats, maybe 3, to move over and help Mixer become a big thing. I'm sure Microsoft would love it if Mixer really blew up. He's obviously famous for playing games with Drake. Yes, the rapper Drake. And Travis Scott, I don't know who that is. Football player Juju Smith-Schuster. I know that he's a football player just because I read that he is. Man, super rich dude though. Super goofy looking. Anyway, he's gonna go to Mixer and tear it up over there. I'm sure he's gonna do well. Speaking of Fire Emblem, by the way, I did remember. I did note that Chris Niosi voices the main character. Nintendo will be removing him as a voice actor from Fire Emblem 3 Heroes, following accusations of abuse by former friends and girlfriends. This comes from Kotaku writer Zach Zwiesen. He's a well-known voice actor who has been in TV shows and games such as OK KO, that has an exclamation mark on it. I don't know why. And Octopath Traveler, he voices the character Byleth, who's the character I'm playing as, in Fire Emblem Three Houses and Fire Emblem Heroes. Oh, he was in that. Over the last week, allegations arose accusing Niosi of sexual harassment and abuse. Niosi admitted on his personal Tumblr, wow, that he had treated people in his life horribly and had abused friends. His post contains detailed individual apologies to multiple people, going into some detail about his actions. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be replacing him with Zach Aguilar. We do not know when that will happen, but it will be in a future patch. That's crazy. Like, just because we don't even know, at least from what I can see, there's no specific details about what he did. He did go into some detail, it says, and he apologized for it. Can't we just move on? Like, if we don't even know what he did, we just assume he did bad things. Like, it's just crazy. Let's just be a more forgiving people and not assume that he's a mass murderer, because it certainly doesn't seem like he did anything that bad. The guy apologized. He's probably going to go through a lot. Yeah, I think that's lame. But they're going to do it. It's up to Nintendo, and we're in that culture right now where we're with the blow up like they did with Suicide Squad guy, the writer of that. So I don't know what he did, but that's a bummer for him, and hopefully he learns his lesson, I guess. I don't think he's particularly great in Fire Emblem. I'm not he seems very, very stiff, and I'm not really sure why he stands out as a voice actor, but now he probably won't be a voice actor. So there's that. Speaking of some crazy articles I've found on here, I found a study This is from a website called The Next Web. It's another like Kotaku-ish thing. Very very liberal, as most of these tend to be, just like Kotaku is. And here's a study called Majority of Online Gamers Have Experienced Both Harassment and Friendship. I cannot believe this is an article that's been written in 2019. 2019, we're realizing that online gamers can harass other people. Says, and this is a study by, or this is an article, I should say, by Rachel Kaiser. It says a study has shone a light on how many gamers have experienced harassment and hate while playing games, and it's a staggeringly high number. Uh-oh. If the number isn't 100%, then this thing's bullshit. But let's see what it says. It's based on survey responses from over 1,000 adults. It says that 74% of the respondents reported that they'd experienced harassment, and 65% upgraded that to severe harassment. Let's see what severe harassment means. Oh, 44% were physically threatened. Well, if they played with me, they probably were. And yeah, I gotta admit that sounds accurate from my own experiences. Of the 15 games on the list, the game from which players reported the most harassment was Dota 2, which is awesome. Followed closely by CSGO and Overwatch, which that one takes me way by surprise. That's a Blizzard thing. Like, they're a little bit more, like, they have a reporting thing, I think. And I played Overwatch. Ooh, sorry. I played a little Overwatch, and it was definitely not the worst game I've played. Not by a long shot. I'm kind of surprised that Call of Duty isn't on here. I played only a handful of games of that and got yelled at constantly. Dota 2, I completely understand. Dota 2 is such a stressful game that if you fuck up, everyone yells at you. It's just the way that game is. The demographic that reported the most harassment was women, 38%, which sounds about right in my experience. She's a woman, Rachel Kaiser, in case you didn't know. Women playing games in general are often targets of sexual harassment and rage from other gamers. Well, I don't understand the second part. It's just sexual harassment. Yes, okay. Rage, that's the whole thing. Twitch streamers recently held an anti-harassment campaign called Slut Stream to raise awareness for the kinds of nastiness women often face while gaming. The second most frequent targets were LGBTQ plus players. Wait, LGBTQ plus. Is that like a advanced form of LGBTQ? What is that? Is that like the PlayStation Pro or something? Like some kind of upgrade? I don't know. It's got rainbows coming out of its twat. Maybe there is some light at the end. Almost all of the respondents, 88%, reported having positive experiences. I swear to Christ, every one of these articles that I read, nobody proofreads. Like, nobody has an article without some kind of spelling error or usually some kind of grammatical error. Like, do they not even care? Anyway. Positive in this case means making friends, discovering new interests, feeling like part of a community. That's because online gaming is such an allegory for life. Like, there's people that are mean. They're usually pretty bad. Usually. There's people that are nice and have a sense of community, and those are what you gravitate towards. People that are mean are usually alone. That's why the internet is so pure. It's like a Darwin-esque experience. And the thing is, if you can figure out how to grow a thick skin from the internet, which is not hard. You just have to be there for a little bit. The real world, you realize, is full of pussies. And you can handle anything out there. There's nobody can say anything in the real world to make me mad. You just can't. Because I've been through the internet and I've been called everything on the internet. So who cares? You realize that they're just words. Just somebody trying to get under your skin. And if it works, they win. And you don't need that kind of stress. You just say, fuck off. So these people worried about harassment and online problems, they just need to probably game more, because eventually they're going to say, who cares? But also get a thicker skin and toughen up. It's going to make them so much stronger in the future. According to the ADL, what's the ADL? ADL. Oh. The study was published by the Anti-Defamation League. These people sound like they're probably a lot of fun. A really cool group of individuals that just want to make the world a better place, I'm sure. As one possible solution, the ADL recommends game developers should develop a system that rates or gives warnings about their game's online community. While that sounds like an admirable endeavor, it'd be difficult for the developers to be objective enough to judge their own community. Besides, it often takes a while after a game's release before the collective attitude crystallizes. Look no further than League of Legends. They developed a system called the Tribunal, which was great, and then they have a reporting system that is so refined that the League of Legends I played 9 years ago, maybe 10 at this point, 10 or 9 years ago, whatever, is a completely different beast than what it is now. Like, it used to be, like, every 5 games there'd be a lever or troll. Sorry. Intentional feeder, something like that. And nowadays, almost never. Almost never. And if anybody who tells you otherwise, they're not playing. They're making that stat up, because it's 100% gotten better. So, I mean, there's still people that trash talk. Who cares? It's like, you got to get over that part. It's not as bad. If you read the Tribunal, if you've ever gone through it, they used to put them up on a website. People used to say, that's where I heard one of my favorite insults. I read it. It said, sit on a knife, which is always, it's so brutal. It's so vicious, but in that element, it's very funny, actually. But it's gotten 100%. Look at League of Legends. They did a phenomenal job. Plus to them to get my thumb of approval. So anyway, the whole point of this, I guess, is just to say everybody should be nice to each other. The ADL also recommended greater research into how this harassment affects vulnerable people, such as LGBTQ plus players. Well, if they're so advanced, they shouldn't need our help. That's what I think. That's about it for the news. There wasn't really a whole ton of news. But I just want to get that stuff out there and have a little podcast. I haven't seen you guys in a while. So, throwing that stuff down. If you want to check us out, go to the channel. We're always here pumping out new content. And hopefully I'll be able to stream some games. I know I don't do that the whole time, but we did have a couple games come out that JD and I have talked about streaming. I'll keep it a surprise as to what they are. But thanks for joining us, and I'll see you guys next time.